Hello and welcome to Tonalist Painting with M. Francis McCarthy. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy, and I'm bringing you guys a little tiny one today. It's called Light on the River. It's a 3x3, and this is actually the first 3x3 that I ever painted. And one of the things you'll notice is that the video is not really that sped up. It's about double speed, I'd say. And so this painting, of course, being very small, it went quite quickly. But also, I have to say, um, that's actually part of the plan, that these little tiny ones go very quickly. But I've done maybe 6 or so since this time, and I've noticed that I can spend almost as much time on them as I do on a 5x5. So I'm not sure where the trade-off is. Especially yesterday, I did two 3.5x5s, and they basically took just as long as a 5x7. Maybe a little less time, maybe a little less, but that I put down to just my pedantic nature, maybe perfectionist nature. I don't know. Um, Whatever. It's not like I can set out to say, well, I want to paint this very quickly, and so I'm going to compromise on not doing things that I could do. Now, there has been some occasions in the past where people have bought things off of my drawing area that were first pass only, and I'd let them do it because when they're in the studio and they want to buy, they usually never come back. So if their imagination's captured and they got their wallets out, I'm generally ready to sell whatever's there. Although, having said that, I turned someone away a couple weeks back that wanted to buy one that I know I'll be sharing with you guys. It was quite a nice scene. It had a river in it and a kind of a hill, and the 5x7 I'm really proud of, really happy with, and I had not had a good photo of it, and so I told her, well, I've got to photograph this, and plus I needed to use it as reference for my larger iteration, which I'll also be sharing with you. And she was actually very understanding. She offered to pay for it and get it later, and I was like, well, I can hold it for you. And I was, and then she but I figured that, like so many, she was just talking, and but she did contact me on email through my website, and she ended up purchasing it. I'm still holding on to it for her because she does in Australia, is only in the New Zealand intermittently, but happy to do that for her, and happy for her to have the painting once I have a very good quality photo. And I've learned this lesson after one of the first times I ever exhibited. I sold all 4 of the paintings I'd done, and they were very fresh. I hadn't had a closure period, and at that time I was actually far less prolific. It took me a long time to get paintings done, and I was a bit traumatized, to be honest, by the process, and I determined to hunker down and really take high quality photos of my paintings, and that way, I don't know, I feel okay with it then. I'm okay. I've got a good record of it. Now, that said, I mean, to me, we all interact with paintings as a two-dimensional surface. However, they are in reality an actual object. They have dimension, and they have material realness here. This is a thing, unlike everything in the digital realm, which is how, I mean, let's face it, all of you are interacting with my art in the digital realm. That just presents you a flat two-dimensional surface. Even if it's portraying, like here in this little movie, you can see the little edge of the painting, right? But it's an actual object. It's an actual real thing, and this is what interests me about paintings. One of the things it does is that they are physical, real things, and that has a lot more intrinsic value than anything that's being promulgated in the digital realm, you know, and it always will. I feel it always will, even as they proceed into integrating more and more three-dimensional aspects into the computing spectrum. Actual objects in this reality will always have more intrinsic value than anything that comes out of a computer. And I would include, they even have a printing technology now that prints in 3 dimensions. You can get a exact replica of, say, a Van Gogh for it's about 17 or 18,000. But let's face it, that'll come down. You know, 10 years, how much will it be? 1,000. You know, that's fine. That's all good. I don't worry about things like that because there's a place for human effort and human work, and as a human, I am very prejudiced for that place, and that is why I create real-world artwork in the real world. And I've been expert at creating art in the digital realm. I did so for more than 13 years. I made money doing it as a professional for 13 years. In a lot of cases there, I would do drawings and stuff on paper and then scan them in and color them in the computer. But I was totally enamored with creating art in the digital realm, and I learned a lot about art there. But ultimately, I guess you can say I've rejected it in favor of creating actual physical paintings. And I feel like I'm just ahead of the curve there, and that more and more people are doing this every year. I could be wrong. You know, what do I know? It's also getting easier to create artwork. I mean, I have a really nice Galaxy tab that came with a stylus, which I've used once, which is, you know, sort of silly given that I am an artist. But if I'm going to do some artwork, I'll do it in real life now. Thank you very much. Anyway, moving on. What have I been doing in the studio? Talked a little bit about it yesterday. I'm still very enamored with these doing small paintings and redos of my 5x7s, and so I've done some super attractive redos, some of which I'll share here. Also, I'm getting a new and improved DSLR camera. I've had a Canon 5D Mark II for about 6 years now, and it's got some problems with focusing and things. It's been a great camera though, so I'm actually waiting right now for its replacement, which is going to be a Canon 5D Mark IV, and that's going to be quite a nice upgrade. It's going to have like a bunch more focus points, and I use the DSLR for 2 things. One is for capturing landscape reference photos, and the other is for taking high quality photographs of my artwork. And I have a little photography area set up in the garage, and I've just recently set up another photography area in one of our extra rooms here in the house, and our only extra room actually, and that's mostly for the Etsy/eBay project I'm working on. But it's going to be very handy for that too, because I've had to do quite a few workarounds to deal with the problems I've had on my 5D Mark II, and I haven't really wanted to invest money in repairing it since it's getting to be quite long in the tooth. So quite an investment in something like that, but I hope to get another 6 years out of this camera I'm buying. So and the thing is with quality is you cannot I mean, you can double the size of your images, but and you can click on the sharpen filter in Photoshop, but it's really garbage in, garbage out. There's nothing like actually capturing a very good reproduction of your painting with as many pixels as possible, as sharp as possible, well lit, and I'm quite fastidious about doing so, and even to the point of mild degrees of obsession, I guess. But it's okay. I mean, once I have these photos, like I say, you know, I'm quite. In fact, I just sent 3 nice paintings off to the U.S. that I just finished, but it was okay with me because I do have really good photos of them, and I will be sharing several of those videos with you. Now, I don't know. I might get around to doing 2 videos today. We'll see. I kind of feel like I'm jipping you with this little 3x3, as interesting as it is. And now if you dig around on my channel, you'll see I've painted this scene before as a 5x5, and then again as I think a 12x12. And this painting, that painting, the 12x12, I sold to a really lovely lady that lives in the U.S. and came out to New Zealand and bought that painting, and she was a good call because it's one of my best paintings that she bought. But it's a good scene. I've been one of my things that I've been also doing in the studio is going back to some of the reference images I had developed back in 2011, 2012, even a few from 2010. And it's really interesting how much more educated and adept I am at composition now, because there's a lot of things that were wrong with the paintings I produced from those reference images, and I can see those problems inherent in the reference image itself. In other words, one of the big problems that I would do would be leaving too much sky. If you have too much sky above the trees, it just, a lot of cases, it can work. It depends on the scene, but the way I was doing it wasn't very good. It wasn't working, and so I can dramatically improve things just by cropping down in many cases. In other cases, there's just, well, like I say, but there are some images I couldn't use at all from back then because it just, I know now that they wouldn't make good paintings, and I know that because I made paintings out of them, and they weren't that good. So there's actually really the only way I think that you can learn composition is by doing a lot of paintings. You can buy books on it and read them until you're blue in the face, but until you do a lot of things and see what doesn't work, it's going to be very problematic. Anyway, I can see we're getting close to the end. Thanks for joining me today, and like I say, I may spin out another one today. We'll see how it goes. It's raining, so some of the work I was going to do around the house is I'm not going to do. So we'll see. But if I don't, either way, you'll see me next week with another of the 25 Days of Tonalism and another one of my own pieces. And I'd like to ask you to subscribe if you've enjoyed this video. I would appreciate that. And I appreciate all of you that have subscribed very much. Thank you. For paying attention to my channel. I really think it's awesome. And I have a website, landscapepainter.co.nz. You can follow my blog through there, and on the blog will be a really nice high resolution image of this painting, so you can check that out, as well as 2 detail zoom-ins. So please go ahead and check that out. Anyway, we'll see you later. Meanwhile, please take good care and stay out of trouble.